Hello and welcome to the Ham Radio Guy podcast. I'm Marvin and my call sign is W0MET. Whether you're an experienced ham or just getting started this podcast is for you. We're bringing you the latest of topics, news, and information, and all things amateur radio each episode right here to this show. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and we are now on iHeartRadio. Well, I wanted to start this episode with a couple things here, and we're going to be discussing emergency communications. This is just the beginning of several segments that we'll be talking about this, as we do hear the cry in politics all the time about the change in climate and more severe storms are happening due to the climate. So I'm not making this political, but not bringing politics into it, but we do see more storms happening, and just as of today, Hurricane, I believe Idalia, has passed through Florida and moving up the East Coast. So we definitely, have some storms going through, and we've had tornadoes and other things, and wildfires going on in different states in California and Louisiana and Hawaii. So, definitely some crazy stuff and weather-wise. And so we're going to talk about emergency communications a little bit, and got several episodes around that. Next, I'll bring you an incredible short story out of Huntsville Hamfest that I covered and is now hitting several news sources. So the latest Hamfest schedule for September and much more. So stay tuned. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was a product that I've been using for quite a while, and it's a Leatherman tool. In fact, it's the Leatherman Wave, and I used to carry a regular Benchmade pocket knife all the time, and someone showed this knife to me one day, and I thought, well, that could be pretty handy. I really like that, so I went ahead and bought it, and even though I had another Leatherman, it was kind of bigger and bulky, and just kind of heavy as well, so I didn't, carry it. I always kind of kept it in my truck as a backup if I, needed a quick tool, didn't have a toolbox with me or something. But the Leatherman Wave tool has been my everyday carry now for probably a better part of 6 months, probably 8 months actually, since about the beginning of the year. And I've found great use with this multi-purpose tool. And, I use it on a regular basis every day, so much more than I did my knife. Now, I'm sure there are many of you that have used your pocket knives as screwdrivers and pry tools, all kinds of other things along the way as well, hammers and whatever you can think of. I mean, we take pretty good use of them, and I just find that having this Leatherman tool, I don't feel like I'm having to tear down my blade. I'm not sharpened. When I'm trying to use it as a pry tool, I'm not breaking off the tip. So. A great knife to use. I've provided a Amazon link in that podcast show notes so that you can click on that if you're interested in that. And something I bought additional with that I've found really handy. And since I put the pocket clip on that knife, I carry that in my pocket every day, so I don't need the sheath for it. But I turn around and use the sheath to put in a 21-bit screwdriver attachments. And that's the thing about this Leatherman Wave, is that it's got a place where you can pull out a bit, kind of put a flat bit back in, and you can have a star bit or a Phillips bit, a flathead. It's got a variety of different bits you can fit on there. Just a very handy type of tool to have. Now, it doesn't have everything you need, but in a pinch, it'll probably cover what you need. And so just wanted to be able to share that with you, something I've really found handy, and I'll continue to kind of share some of these things with you again, just making sure I'm educating you and helping you in your ham radio journey as well for things that I've found handy in my own, and hope that this will help you in your everyday life as well as it has mine. Well, the other thing I talked about a little bit was, and it goes right along with where we're going this week on our emergency communications, and that is talking about the trailer. As I'm still waiting for that to arrive. It has arrived at the dealer, but I won't be able to pick that up for about another week yet. And so I've done some, parts gathering, kind of starting to maybe put together a trailer layout a little bit of where I want to put things. And so it's it's getting to be an expensive project already, and I haven't even got the trailer. But solar panels and lights on the outside, and we need to have like a plug for a generator, and you need to have the solar panel connector and a solar controller, and you need like a converter. And initially I thought, well, maybe I just need an inverter, but then doing some YouTube videos and things, I found that nope, that's going to be a converter charger is what I want to be able to make that. And then you got to find like a fuse block, and you've got like a DC panel. So all kinds of stuff out there. And I will provide some links to all this stuff as I start to talk about that a little bit more and get into. Maybe I'll just do an episode right on the trailer itself. But anyway, it's handy for maybe a club that wants to put a trailer together, or maybe you want to build your own EmComm trailer. Maybe you just want a trailer to use that you might go out to and do parks on the air with, or you want to make one for field day. Maybe you're more want to go off-grid living. This is certainly a trailer that you could do all that with and have some of these things available to make that happen. The battery I've got is a 100 amp LiPo battery, much cheaper than what you'd buy for biennial battery. Biennial batteries are great, but they have a heck of a price with them. So another episode, we'll talk about it a little bit more, what it consists of, what that looks like, and we'll go from there. So looking forward to that project still. Again, continue to share that with you as I continue to make progress and get items and start putting it together. Some of the troubles and issues that I might run into along the way. I think we'll even get an episode in here about talking about cables and how do you size that. How do I need if I know if I need a 6-gauge wire or need a 8-gauge wire? How many amps am I carrying across there? Some good ham radio stuff to know and things to think about in our world as we are, measuring out radios and power supplies. Some of those things you learn in technician and general life as you're learning your getting your license, but you don't always know how to apply it after the fact. So I will certainly help you and walk you through some of that and what that looks like. Maybe provide a great app as well for measuring some of those things. Well, if you'd like to be able to help support the channel and become a patron, look for me on buymeacoffee.com/thehamradioguy. There you can find 3 levels you can support the channel at: a technician, a general, or an extra level. And you can simply support the channel even just as simple as $1 a month and get the extra class membership with more benefits if you want for just a little bit more. And I appreciate you reaching out and doing that. And you'll find information there on posts and show notes as well. And, some exclusive content I try and provide. So please reach out to buymeacoffee.com/thehamradioguy. Well, we have a sponsor again. Continue with Club Gear Online for all you POTA swag and your ham radio gear. Check out recent items released from Club Gear Online. Some stuff he did showcase at the Huntsville Ham Fest, and were the ever popular desktop mats. It is like a 12 by 18 type of mat. It's really nice. With a band plan, everything on there, great for your desktop or your radio, at a park. He's got POTA keychains, kind of like your remove before flight tags. You've seen people have. Those are really nice. And, of course, his ever popular metal band plans that he does do all by hand. So Club Gear Online has what you need. He can customize coins or poker chips, QSL cards, and other gear. Just email him direct from the website and visit clubgearonline.com for more information and to find your favorite ham radio swag. But we'll move into a little news. And from the Amateur Radio News Desk, with a release date of August 30th, 2023. We have 3 stories this week. The first one will be the amid Northwest Territories wildfires crisis and Yellowknife's evacuation outcry grows over Meta's Canadian news blog. Evacuees struggle to access updates despite Facebook's ban. CBC North's radio broadcast provides crucial updates. Crisis underscores the importance of diverse media in emergencies, and calls mount for Meta to lift the news ban, allowing real-time fire info sharing. Meta's embargo links to Canada's Online News Act, aiming for social media revenue sharing. Debate surrounds the law impact on journalism and quality and alternative solutions. So basically, the short of that is that Facebook has a news ban and in Canada, and that's where radios continue to be important and to be able to support people to get the information they need about the wildfires and what's growing, especially in a in a crisis. It's good to have the diverse media and information there. So, in a story I broke in the ham radio news world, I've wrote this story myself. You can find links to it in the show notes, and it's being produced by several or reproduced by several news sources. But in a stunning display of unity, the ham radio community rallied around Renee 6 KR5 SIX as she fearlessly leaped from 12,800 feet in a parachute jump on August 18th. The jump dedicated to her husband, Vern 6 KV5 SIX, who was supported by fellow YouTubers and ham radio enthusiasts with the guidance of well-known parachute mobile ham operator KD9LLN. Renee's precise execution of the jump amazed the world, making history as the first woman to tandem skydive while making an amateur radio contact QSO, which was to her husband as the first contact. Renee's courage and dedication in inspiring a new wave of adventure seekers. This incredible feat highlights the power of camaraderie and determination with the ham radio community. So it is a great story. It's very heartwarming and just very endearing that she was able to help make Vern's 15th jump, that she was able to do that for him. I'm not sure that my spouse would do the same. So, and I know several others that would not do that either. So, a very loving, endearing wife for that story. Reach out to the link in the show notes to read and more about that. It is just a great story coming out of Huntsville Hamfest. Not something I interviewed her specifically, and she didn't really have any intentions of jumping out of a plane when she went to Huntsville this year. And it just kind of, through conversation, it just kind of changed, and there she did it. So great job, Renee, and continue to follow them on their YouTube channel with Renee and Vern at What's Up with Six. He does a great channel over there as well. FEMA and the FCC will team up for a nationwide emergency alert system, EAS, and the wireless emergency alert test on October 4th, starting at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time. The EAS will be sent to the radios and TVs, while the WEA will target consumer cell phones, making it the second such cell phone test. The aim is to ensure efficient public warning during emergencies. If postponed, the test will take place on October 11th. The WEA message will be conveyed in English or Spanish, while the EAS test will last around 1 minute and involve various media providers. There you have for this week in news. A couple of short stories. Again, kind of a short episode, but we'll get into the actual nuts and bolts of this a little bit and talk about emergency communications. Now, I've got several topics here. I have 4 segments that I'll try and cover in this. And again, kind of a highlight overview. I could probably do an episode on each section, but for now, we'll just kind of give a highlight of the beginning phase of this series of videos or a podcast. And so we'll be discussing how satellite communications, especially how high the Earth orbit and geostationary satellites are, and they're changing the game for emergency responders. We'll explore the potential of integrating technologies, even like Starlink and Eridan network, into emergency response scenarios. We have a great Eridan network here in Middle Tennessee, and we'll set the stage by highlighting the importance of staying resilient and prepared as well. And so I think we'll start off with that first of some of those topics, because you have to take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself first, then it's hard to take care of others, right? So Even when you get on a plane and they tell you, put your mask on first. If the oxygen level drops, then assist others. And so kind of the same way here. When it comes to emergency situations, one of the key principles, I think, is ensuring your own safety and well-being. And that's why it's crucial to have a plan in place to sustain yourself during short-term off-grid situations. You don't know when or where those are going to happen, where you might be when it happens. And, do you have a alternative for power sources like solar or wind? Do you have a generator, food and water storage solutions, or other strategies to, ensure your own personal safety? So those are all things to think about, what you might have available. I've got generator, I've got solar. So, I've got some larger batteries I could back up to. So I definitely have my own capability for those sort of things that I needed to for a day or two. Do I have enough gasoline on hand right now? No, I don't. I'd be, a little hosed when it comes to that. And being able to take care of yourself is the foundation of, effective emergency response. By thinking, you don't want others to have to be able to take care of you or be able to rescue your butt when, S hits the fan. So, by thinking creatively about sustainable power and resource management, individuals and communities alone can be better equipped to weather the storm. Whatever that might be, a tornado or earthquake or hurricane, anything else, just severe flooding. So, think about those things, what you need to be prepared. There's all kinds of stuff out there from FEMA and the different, even government agencies will put out some things like, here's the list of what you need in case of emergency. Do you have a 2-day bag? Do you have your medications? Do you have, power? And do you have a supply of water and all those different things? So there's checklists out there you can find. There's lots of templates out there. I don't need to provide them, but something it is good to have as your backup, and especially if severe weather's coming. Do you have enough time to plan and prepare for that, or are you prepared ahead of time? And that's something you really need to think about. There's probably some things right now that I'm not prepared for myself, and I really need to have that ready. And so this may be a lesson to myself and things to think about that I need to work on myself. It's it's ever changing, and it's part of life sometimes. But I don't want to get caught per se with my pants down. So anyway, I hope that I don't want someone having to rescue me and spend efforts on that when I should be helping other people instead. And that's really what it gets back to is helping other people and making sure they don't have to help you. You're able to do your own rescues. Your own, have your own survivability. So, let's talk a little bit about satellite communication. It's become more and more popular with the use of Starlink, and how we can use satellite communication and its revolutionary impact on EmComm nowadays. I knew a guy out in Kentucky that had 3 or 4 of these, and he used them during some of the Kentucky floods in like 2022. And when some of the storms and things happened out there, he was able to deploy them for different companies to get their internet back up until local utilities could get, the internet going again. And we all know about, low Earth orbit satellites that provide the window of communication during outages. But what if we told you that high Earth orbit and geostationary satellites are on the horizon, offering more extended and more reliable communication and options for emergency responders? Being one myself for many years, I didn't really have this option. It was all based on LTE and local, Wi-Fi maybe in the city, and different carriers, whether it be like Verizon or AT&T for getting that signal out through our mobile routers in our cars. But do we have the option for satellite now to have emergency responders using that instead of an LTE signal that gets tied up and gets busy or power goes out? They don't have the access to it. Maybe you'd have that access to satellite communication and keep in communication with your dispatch during that time. Something certainly great and worth thinking about. But an organization I wouldn't have thought of. That's right. Organizations like AMSAT are exploring the potential of high Earth and orbit and geostationary satellites to enhance EmComm capabilities. That's a great organization. They do a lot. I'd love to be able to get into some satellite, just making satellite contacts even. That's a whole other topic in itself. But AMSAT does do a lot of good work, and that's incredible that they're trying to work on these sort of things. And, having a continuous coverage over a Pacific area, allowing for real-time voice and data and, even video communications, that's incredible, going up to space and back, and again, high orbit satellites. I mean, that could be invaluable for coordinating responses and emergency efforts, and even sharing critical information. I think that's awesome that we could get satellites to be able to do that and not have to rely on local cell towers running out of power. Now, I know like AT&T and stuff is responsible for keeping those towers up during emergencies the best they can, or as soon as a storm has passed, they have only so much time to get those towers back up because of FirstNet, and that's part of that federal plan, or that agreement that they have with the federal government for using FirstNet. So, but there's, again, it's only so reliable. Where satellites probably a little bit more reliable than that, have a constant and consistent signal. So, that kind of brings me into talking about Starlink. And, again, there's been a lot of buzz around this with people having issues of receiving a signal or having a signal, and maybe there's not enough signal in your area yet where you live. They're still deploying ones to have coverage up in those gaps in those areas, but it's basically become almost like a satellite constellation around the Earth to have enough signal and enough satellites to be able to have coverage around everybody. And so that's tough in itself, that what Elon's done, but it's incredible at the same time. And so Starlink can fit seamlessly into disaster scenarios like I described. The guy had several of them up in Florida or up in Kentucky during floods. And so, providing even access remote to remote locations, maybe if need be. Could be, I don't know, data center would be, not enough because there'd be so much in there, but just even maybe another small business. And then if, the towers weren't taken out, a lot of ARRL, amateur radio emergency data network, networking could be going on, could be providing some extensions. That might work even with the Starlink connection. I'm not sure how that would work exactly. I'd have to dig into that a little bit and see if that's possible. But creating a capability for emergency communications and EmComm. And again, I will, interchangeable use those, EmComm and emergency communications, but that's what I'm, talking about. The global coverage of Starlinks, has great potential, and ARRL's mesh networking technology is pretty good too. It can work. You got to make sure you have all the links up. That's the tough part. And if you got one link down, then your whole system could be down on that too, and make it tough to get out. But, we're always looking for new ways to establish a resilient communication network in a challenging situation. And so I think by leveraging some of these technologies, emergency response teams, amateur radio operators, first responders, they can stay connected, you can exchange information, and you can coordinate efforts more effectively, hopefully by getting, even utility companies and public service workers, involved on some of that to be able to talk around. And I just think that makes a huge difference. Well, the fourth and final segment I have for this, empowering local communities with this. Again, this very high level talking here for EmComm, and just thinking about some different ideas and some things we can, start engaging our brains with and thinking about what we need to do. But, we have amateur radio operators, and you may be listening to this. Maybe you're not an amateur radio operator, and so you go, well, what type of tools can I leverage? How can I be empowered to do this? I don't have ham radio. I don't have satellite communication. But, we want to take innovation a step further. Again, how you as an individual or maybe a group can empower local communities through enhanced communications and alert capabilities. APRS can provide some great alert systems. I've got a guy here locally that does a good job with that and can create alerts based on certain things. And I'll maybe provide a link to a future video of him of his stuff when it comes out. But just talking about some APRS and storm tracking. You not only can utilize ham radio for radio, but sometimes you might have like an FRS radio or GMRS radio. So individuals can create comprehensive communications networks within their own neighborhoods. And here in Middle Tennessee, I've got a guy that has, he's put up 5 or 6 different GMRS repeaters. He's linked a few of them together. And so we have a great network here in Middle Tennessee of resource that, he's also put up several DMR radios, repeaters as well. But we can utilize those as comprehensive communication networks within our neighborhoods to communicate with maybe non-ham family members or neighbors. You can ham them a radio and say, hey, stand here on the road and tell me what, if the water starts rising, or maybe can you see if the river's rising or whatever. Maybe they need, if something happens, call me for emergencies. So there's definitely some options there. This enables you to serve as a hub for sharing, health and welfare information with, local officials or, provide other important, updates during emergencies and storm information. So, again, you've got multiple resources from just taking care of yourself. You've got the satellites using things like Starlink and Airden, Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. You've got FRS and GMRS radios. Maybe you got a local network in your own area you can use. There you have it, folks. You've got several things with innovation in emergency communication that's opening up new horizons for individuals and communities to stay connected and informed during emergencies of some sort, whatever that might be, whether it's a tornado or hurricane, flooding. So embracing advanced satellite technology, to build self-sufficient systems. You can buy your own Starlink, and maybe that's what you need to help keep local communications networks up. Maybe you're an IT guy, you can help keep a neighborhood IT up and running. If other internets are out, maybe you can provide some type of possibility to neighbors to help provide Wi-Fi in the area. The possibilities are truly exciting and unlimitless, just infinite. So let your mind just run with whatever you want to for ideas and creativity on having that type of communications networks available to you. But remember, being prepared and adaptable is the key to effectively navigating the challenges of emergencies, that are brought your way. So anyway, I just want to say, there you go. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and, stay safe, stay connected, and, keep innovating and finding new ways to have emergency communications work for you. And what does that, look at? What does that look like for you? If you got any questions in regards to this, reach out to me at w0met@arrl.net. I'd love to hear more from you on what your ideas are of other things that you might be using in your area. Do you agree, with these sort of things? Are these other bad ideas? Do you not like one of these ideas? I'd love to hear from you. Again, reach out to me at w0met@arrl.net. And, you can look for me at all things ham radio related. You can visit the Ham Radio Guy website at thehamradioguy.com for informative content, product reviews, and exciting blog posts. Join the conversation on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date with the latest trends and news information in the ham radio world. Connect with me on Twitter at thehamradioguy for even more updates and engaging interactions. And don't miss out on the fun and knowledge sharing. Subscribe to the Ham Radio Guy podcast here today. I appreciate your support. Thank you for your continued listener support. And I hope that you'll continue to listen to other episodes. And I just thank you for being there. And I've surpassed 2,000 downloads now, and I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And thank you for doing that. And I know I've got listeners worldwide now, and I'm great and very humbled by that. So I hope that I do find this to be an informative and educational podcast, and we'll go from there. Well, if you're here in the U.S., like I said, I do got people worldwide, but check out your local ARRL Hamfest page, and I always have a link to that in the show notes for the Hamfest schedule from the ARRL. But on September 10th, just about a week from now, the ARRL Southern New Jersey Section Convention and Hamfest will be in Maloka Hill, New Jersey. I think I said that right. September 22nd to 23rd is the HRL Superfest, hosting the ARRL Wisconsin State Convention in Milwaukee. On September 23rd, the Red River Radio Amateur 2023 Hamfest, sponsored by the ARRL Dakota Division Convention, will be in West Fargo, North Dakota. And finally, Spokane Valley in Washington will be hosting the ARRL Washington State Convention on September 23rd, the same as Red River Valley. So that is your Hamfest schedule, your news, our topic of the week. Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for listening to this podcast. Again, if you want to become a subscriber wherever you get your podcast, you can rate and review the show. Go out to Spotify or Apple, your favorite podcast platform, or hell, you can just go out to the old school and tell friends and family, neighbors, anybody you think you might want to hear that would like to listen in. If you're on social media, be sure to follow me on Twitter and buymeacoffee.com. You can also listen on YouTube version of the W0MET channel. As always, I hope that you learned something as well this week that will help you in your ham radio operations. And if you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them on Twitter, the podcast platform, email me at w0met@arrl.net. As always, this is your ham radio buddy, in the chair and on the air, the ham radio guy. I say 73, W0MET.